Article last week in the New York Times about artificial intelligence. And I want to talk about one of the quotes in that article today, both today and probably later this week. But here's a quote from the New York Times on AI. It says, in other words, what an AI does can fail to align with its creators or users' goals. Katja Grace says it's a very general technology that's going to be used for so many things. She's an AI researcher. She said, so it's much harder to anticipate all the ways that you might training it to do something that could be harmful. And then the article goes on to go, here's a real world example. They put ChatGPT to the test to describe a relationship between these two political cartoonists who knew each other. And after they did that, it falsely suggested that one of them had accused the other of plagiarism in 2002 and that both of them had a public feud. And the reality is that none of this happened. The article goes on to say, but current AI technologies frequently produce these kinds of tall tales, what experts call hallucinations. When asked about real people or events, experts aren't sure why. One potential explanation is that these systems are primarily programmed to put out convincing conversational writing, not to distinguish fact from fiction. As similar AI replaces human tasks or current technologies like search engines, the falsehoods could mislead many more people. Does anybody else see anything scary about that? The computer made up a story about two individuals being in a rivalry with each other that never happened. And it says, AI technology people say, yeah, this happens on a regular basis. We call it a hallucination. They don't know why it happens. We're still struggling to study AI. But there's another part of this quote I want to come back to on Thursday. But here's the part I wanted us to focus on today. These systems are primarily programmed to put out convincing conversational writing, not to distinguish fact from fiction. So when I read that sentence, my thought was, could AI either accidentally or intentionally mislead us? Now, I'm not getting into the whole that our computer is going to take over the world, Terminator, and all that sort of stuff. My point today is that this world is confusing enough without AI telling us things are real or true that are neither real nor true. Have you seen any of the AI-generated artwork? It's really amazing. So I guess I wanted to get into this way. We already have issues in our world with each other when truth is exposed, let alone untruths that can be computer-generated. Now, I'm not trying to say we got to quit AI right now, but I want us to at least have this thought process and conversation about these things. And in reality, we know you've often heard the verse. It's often quoted, widely used, and often misquoted. Jesus says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. How many movies have had that quote in there, right? Well, one of the strengths of Christian faith is the ability, we might even call it a spiritual gift, of discernment, the ability to distinguish fact from fiction, or truth from error, light from darkness, good from evil, etc. But this type of gift, this discernment, is being lost in our world. This really just led to confusion, and it's rapidly growing. People are confused about the truth and right and wrong. And then even when we're not confused, we're not encouraged to speak the truth. We're encouraged to, keep your opinions, your intolerance, and your hateful rhetoric to yourself, right? And so on a subject for next time, one that's been well developed, how actually loving is it to allow somebody to continue to believe in untruths about themselves and our world, and follow down that path that ultimately leads to their own destruction and missing the life of faith. But we'll get into that next time. But the second verse I wanted to mention today was Ephesians chapter 4. Paul talks about this idea of confusion growing in our world and what the Christian faith has to battle against that. In Ephesians 4:14, he says this, then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves, which really makes it feel like in some of our culture wars today. Nobody really knows what the truth is, and then you're not allowed or willing to say it. He says, so you're not blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of men in their deceitful scheming. Now, if Paul had known about AI, would he have included the stories that AI makes up? But he says he offers this as an alternative. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into him who is the head, that is Christ. Now, Paul's onto a key thing there. We're able to speak the truth, and one of the things that we could be accused of pretty regularly is not doing that in love, and that's probably the way the world would say that the church most often tries to speak truth. But Paul's thoughts, that's a whole other discussion for another day. But Paul says, from him, Christ, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. So that was Paul's purpose for the body of Christ, that we discern truth, we're able to understand it, we're able to speak it to each other in love. So I want to challenge you with that today. Certainly one of those three areas you need to work on and practice: discernment, speaking truth, and speaking it in love. We can all work on some of that. But Paul has recognized the danger here of not being able to separate truth from error, and has inserted and offered a tool, the body of Christ, the church, to help us. So with that challenge today, you are invited to join us, our church body here at New Horizons, on Sunday at 10:15. We are excited that another church will be joining us, and they will soon be having their own services in our building, and I'll probably talk more about that later. Way to go, Firepoint. But we'll have communion this Sunday and a meal together afterwards. You're invited to join us for both, and we can discuss truth if you'd like. But until then, next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.